Bryson DeChambeau and his hand injury is a bigger deal than people think. This is Dr. David Chao, Sports Injury Central. Yes, most of you know me as Pro Football Doc, but I have covered PGA golf tournaments as a medical director and have done surgery on PGA golfers before. But certainly, you know, anyone can tell you that Bryson DeChambeau's hand injury should be a bigger deal than people are talking about. The left hip is indeed a big deal, but the hamate fracture is the biggest deal. Yesterday on Sports Injury Central here, you see the article that we posted, Why Surgery is Inevitable for Bryson DeChambeau's Hand Injury. We talked about the problems with the hip, being a right-handed golfer and his hip turn, but the left wrist and hand are the most important for a right-handed golfer in terms of grip. And the hamate bone, he admitted to having a hamate bone fracture. We wrote this article before yesterday's first round of match play, where he ended up tying a much lesser golfer. And as a matter of fact, his very first shot, as you see here, landed in the medical tent along the side, a sponsor medical tent. And DeChambeau was sloppy, occasionally brilliant in first competitive round in more than a month. Look, we know he's a great golfer, but the type of golf he plays, hitting the long ball, this does not translate well with a hook of the hamate fracture. This fracture, as we talked about yesterday, is at the base of the wrist where the power grip is, and it's a hooked bone in the hand. And unfortunately, it doesn't heal. Doesn't heal well with time, doesn't heal well with rest, doesn't heal well with casting. Surgery is usually the best option. And that surgery is not to repair the fracture, but to take out the hook of the hamate. Common in catchers from the ball hitting the base of the hand. Common in baseball players, especially in the power hand, bottom hand in terms of grip. Common in hockey players where you hold the stick. Not all that common in golfers. He said he aggravated it during playing ping pong in Saudi Arabia. He's been out 2 months since he's been back. He says he's not 100% and it shows. He's a very skilled golfer. He's still very competitive. But today he lost to Lee Westwood and he's out of this match play tournament. And unfortunately, we feel like it's a sign of things to come. He did have a birdie today. He had a nice, on a par 3, played a bank off the hill and had it roll down. He was playing some good golf. But here's the thing, the Masters are around the corner. Look, I don't see how DeChambeau can play well in the Masters. The demanding course, the hilliness, the length, the penalty for not being in the fairway, his long ball distance and accuracy are going to be affected by this hook of the hamate and probably hip issue. The hip issue can heal and get better with time. The hook of the hamate is unlikely to. And obviously golf play at Augusta is much different. I don't expect DeChambeau to be able to do too much, because in match play, when you hit a ball into the sponsor tent, all right, you lose one hole, but you can come back because he is a brilliant golfer. In Augusta, you hit the ball poorly and it costs you 3 or more strokes and knocks you out of contention. I think DeChambeau will struggle if he does indeed play at the Masters. I hope he can do well. I hope he can make the cut, but I think it would be against expectations to expect a lot out of him at Augusta. And by the way, we said yesterday, I think there's a likelihood of surgery to excise that bone. DeChambeau himself has talked about the possibility of surgery. Look, he's a gamer. He's a tough guy. He's going to try and get through Augusta, but we'll see. Even if he can play, I don't see him in contention because of this big deal issue with his hand, with his grip, and with his power game, affecting his power game, which really is the strength of his game. So far, I think he's only converted on 1 of the 5 par 5s. He hasn't converted on many in this most recent match play, and he admits he's not 100%. Here's hoping he can get better. The good news is if he has surgery, it's only a 2 at most 3 month recovery timeline, so he can be back. I'm sure he doesn't want to do it, but it may be necessary for him to be at the top of his game and crushing those balls off the tee like he normally does. Thanks for watching. This is Dr. David Chao, Sports Injury Central, SICScore.com.